Hello, today is Mother's Day, and the sun is now setting on this day. And it's been a good day honoring our mothers. But before the day is done, I wanted to take a little bit of time to honor someone, a beloved spouse, mother, grandmother, and great grandmother who is no longer here with us. And this person is Delores Taylor. She is the spouse of Dean Taylor, and she is the mother of Howard Taylor and grandmother to Wendy Taylor, and great grandmother to Taylor, Bailey, and Avery Matthews. And she has been with us in all of these roles for over 25 years in my life, 45 some years in the life of Wendy, and 65 something years with her husband, Dean Taylor. And she departed from this life around December of 2019. And so I thought Mother's Day would be a very appropriate day for me to share what Delores means to me and how she's impacted my life. And I hope that this can be meaningful to those that know her. And maybe we can begin the process of, grieving, celebrating, and remembering her in the future, even if it's through digital means, through videos or Zoom, because she has such a long life, very richly lived, that impacted all of us in numerous ways, that she is someone that deserves to be memorialized. So Delores was born in 1936, and she was one of 12 or 13 siblings. And all I know is what Wendy told me over the years, so I know I'm not exactly precise, but so forgive me. And her lifespan from 1936 to now spanned probably the biggest changes in American society, from agricultural, local dwelling, culture in the 30s, to the globalization now and everything being connected in a global community through technology. She was 15 years old when she married Dean Taylor at 16. And a year later, in her 16, she already had 2 children. The oldest is Howard, who is Wendy's father. So at 16, 2 kids with Dean, and then she was part of the life of her kids and grandkids all the way till 2019. I first met her in 1994 when I went to Oregon for the first time, and that seemed like just not that long ago. And then I realized it was 25 years ago, and noted that that I've known her longer than two of my grandparents who died before I was 25, and so she has become like a grandmother to me also, and I look forward to visiting them. It was a ritual 2 or 3 times a year. We will go up to their place and just visit with them. And the one thing that really stood out to me was her complete devotion to her husband Dean. Early at 15, she married him, and since then, the two of them have become basically a single entity. Cannot imagine ever being separated. They're so intertwined with each other, and I think that has been a good inspiration for all of us, for I know for Wendy's parents, for us, and hopefully for our kids, or great grandkids, on the best of what a human can be, to be so completely devoted to someone else and have them devoted to you. And that really stood out to me. And then along with that devotion, with just her hospitality, she was always welcoming us at home, always giving us something to drink. And she knew I liked coffee, made sure I had coffee. She always had chocolate ice cream bars she would always give to the kids. She always gave us all the time she had to visit with her and to hang out with her. Probably the first time I met her, I think, well, it was just really early on, was we went to the desert in Oregon. It's about 4 or 5 hours, something drive from the Portland area, where Delores and Dean bought some property out in the middle of the desert. And after being to Oregon, I understand, it gets wet year round, and so you want a nice dry place to go. And I remember going out there to the desert in Pineville, and coming from Houston myself in the summer. It's always hot and sweaty. You don't do something outside, so I just wore a short sleeve shirt and shorts. And I remember that night in the desert, it just got cold really, really fast, and it was just bone shivering, frigid, weather that abruptly rolled in at night. And then they started a fire, and everybody had on the gloves and the muff and scarf. And I was thinking, who does this in July? This is so cold. This is abnormal. And I know Delores saw me, warming up by the fire, and so she brought me a cup of hot cocoa, maybe all the time coffee, and just those kind of things that I remember. And so part of honoring her, I wanted to include this prickly pear cactus that just lit up with the spotlight. So when I see this cactus here, reminds me of the time in the desert that Delores and Dean bought, and they actually gave some parcels to other family members so that they could come out and hang out. And that's just part of their devotion and hospitality to the family there. And so that's a memory that I really cherish with her. Something else about Delores that really stood out to me is that she was a down-to-earth person. And I mean that in the literal sense as well as metaphorical sense. But literally, her passion was in the earth as a gardener her entire life, and going to their place was very intimidating to someone that aspired to be a gardener, because the lawn was just meticulously well maintained, not a single weed. Their grass perfectly cut, fruit trees, plants, flowers, everything was just blooming and growing, and just a testament to her passion being in the ground and gardening. And so going up to their place probably hundreds of times over 3 decades gave me the chance to see her garden and see all the stuff that they were doing. And it was just amazing to me that that one person, and then Dean helped as well, to able to do all of that. And that probably the thing that I learned the most from her, because her passion in gardening also informs her view of spirituality and the meaning of life. Because when we would get in conversations about the meaning of life, like Christmas time, Easter, or others, she will consistently share that for her, the garden and the act of gardening is a spiritual metaphor for her for what life is all about. And then I got a PhD in religion, taught and research for well over 15 years on a deep level on all these topics. And upon reflection, I have to say that Delores, who does not have a higher education degree, had gone to the jugular. She had reached the heart of the essence of the meaning of life, of spirituality, defined worldwide, but especially in Christianity and Judaism. Gardening is probably the central metaphor used to describe God's relationship to us and our relationship with each other. The entire Bible opens and ends with the garden. Okay, there, and it's used all the way through. And I think the Lord understood through nature, because if nature is a reflection of what life is all about, if it was created or put in place, that reflects the value of the intention of God or whatever higher power you might believe in. But if this reflects the values of the Creator, then by us interacting with nature, we can learn something about the meaning of life. And the Lord, hours and hours every day for decades in her life, was in creation, getting into the ground, getting soil over her. And that's exactly what God does. We see in the second chapter of the Bible, in Genesis, it says that God sculpted the first human from the ground, out of soil, clay, and God is portrayed as a gardener planting a garden. So he uses the word planting and sculpting, pottery making to describe God. So God is not a far off, distant, aloof deity, but someone that sculpts humanity. And then other places, like in the Psalms, uses the metaphor of like a weaver, that God is knitting humanity as they begin in the womb. And these aren't literal metaphors, it's helping us understand how God relates to us by using things we know. But the gardening and the weaving shows that God is very involved at a very close level with the minutiae of life. And so, even though the Lord never had training, she did not go to church for decades and decades, she got the heart of what life is all about, because she did what God does by getting into the garden, cultivating, keeping the weeds at bay, providing nourishment. And it's something that never ends. It's an ongoing process. And the qualities that motivate that process is commitment and devotion. Okay, to protect, to cultivate, to nourish for flourishing of life. It's the flourishing of humanity by being connected to this creation. We feel we belong when we are connected, to eat from the produce of the garden, to smell what we're planting, to see the variety of life and the ecosystem, the worms in the soil, the bees as they, pollinate the flowers, the butterflies that are flying, the animals, and I just saw 4 or 5 raccoons in the back just now, trying to eat from your garden, the birds of the air, where sometimes you have to put a netting over it. You are in tune to the vast ecosystem of a variety of life that are all intertwined. And when humans do that, we also join that. And so Delores was really down to earth, and I learned from her that when I grew up in a urban setting from the 70s onward, and then we were in one of the hottest places in the world, and it was so hot we were one of the first places to build an indoor stadium to play baseball. And so the mentality in an urban setting was nature was something to get away from. And I understand that because it was just so hot. But then through the laws, I learned what we lose if we completely isolate ourselves from nature. Then our meaning as human is not completely whole. And so by seeing her gardening, then she's saying, well, that's the meaning of life. I mean, it was just so obvious to her. Well, we all have these conversations at Christmas about what life is all about. And she already had it, but every time she just said life was like a garden. And so that's something that that I've taken away from her that has really impacted my life. And also, kind of, which is part of the funny thing about her, part of her down to earth her whole life, and then she was born before technology really took over the world, but technology changes. She wasn't one to quickly embrace technology, and the clear example is the airplane. She has never flown in an airplane in her entire life, ever. And I was thinking, if you grew up not seeing an airplane, all of a sudden you see an airplane, that can be terrifying, because it's insane thinking that something so heavy can be up in the sky, and we don't want to be up there in the sky. So she has not flown on an airplane ever. And even the last time we went, she just had a regular landline with regular phone, and it was kind of a refreshing walk into the past when you were visit, because that phone would ring so loud like a landline, and it's just something that I missed in the old days, having that phone and then that good quality voice that you get in the landline. And what I learned from her was just because we have something new in technology doesn't mean it's good or bad. It doesn't mean we automatically embrace something as progress for progress' sake, because as far as Delores was concerned, she was living her life. Having a home, having a garden, having kids, being with her husband, being able to go to the desert to enjoy Oregon, and all of that is reachable by car. And they had a very nice, at least when I knew them, a Ford Crown Vic, and very nice dirty car, and so that really impressed me. And so now I have 2 Crown Vics because they never break down. So she just drove, and she just lived her life. And just because planes exist and phones exist that are now smartphones and computers, why? What are you giving up if you embrace technology, if it leads you away from the life you're already living? And so that's something, a lesson that I try to take with me as well. But I will say this, though, that really makes some of the memories I have with her especially poignant and memorable, because even though Delores never flew on a plane, one of the cherished memories I have is soaring to the stars with her on a spaceship. Now you may be thinking, now what's the deal with that? Well, this was the summer of around 96, I believe, and we were in Abilene. I was taking a summer course at Pepperdine for I think a month, maybe 6 weeks or a month. And before the course started, we drove from Abilene up to Oregon to see Wendy's grandparents, and we were telling them that we were going to go stay in Malibu for 6 weeks. And they said, you know what, we're going to Disneyland. And it was kind of surprising that they were going to Disneyland. because they don't drive very far. So for them driving all the way down to Disneyland was a huge deal, and so Wendy was really happy about that. And they said, well, you want to meet in Disneyland? And this would have been maybe 2 or 3 weeks after we were at their house. And you have to remember there's no cell phone, no way to get in contact. So they said, okay, how are we going to find you at Disneyland? And Wendy's been there a few times, so she told them, okay, on this day that we're going to meet, and I don't remember the date, but on this day at noon, we will meet you right outside the tiki room. And I remember seeing a grandmother and grandfather with these blank faces. What? It's like, how? But I think they're realizing how Disneyland is such a sacred spot for Wendy, that she knows it so well. So they said, okay, we will be outside the tiki room at noon on this day. And so 2 weeks later, we leave in the morning, go to Disneyland, and then around noon, and sure enough, we found them outside the tiki room, Delores and Dean, Wendy's grandparents. They had I think a couple with them as well that they went. And the rest of the day we did Disneyland with them. And with reference to going to the stars, we took them to the Star Tours ride where you actually step on a spaceship and you do a motion simulator where you take off and you fly in space and do a space battle. And no, I didn't know them too well, just 2 or 3 years at that point. And I just thought, okay, everybody goes to Disneyland and then they fly in the stars. But after 20-some years later, I mean, that was the last time I think they ever left Oregon. Maybe they'll go to Washington, but they don't leave long. And I realized, wow, that was a really rare moment to be able to get on a ship and soar to the stars with Delores. And then we did other things at Disneyland as well. So Disneyland now is a really special place because to this day, every time I go to the tiki room, there's that spot where we met them. And that's the memory I have with them. Every time we go on Star Tours, I remember when they rode with us, soaring to the stars. I also remember seeing a movie. I think I only saw one movie with them the entire time, and that movie was also about flying in the stars, which was Independence Day. And I think this was a couple of years earlier, maybe the first summer we saw them, around '94. So, and Independence Day came out July 4th, and so we went with them to see that in the movie theater too. So I really cherish those memories we have with them. And she has influenced my life for the better in a number of ways. That means that she will live on with us. So even though the sun is setting and her time with us has ended, the sun that set is rising somewhere else. And this by no means signifies the permanent end of Delores. Her existence has now ended in this phase. It's now beginning the next phase. But in this phase, her influence lived on with us. For me, the way her influence lived on, number one was just her devotion. Marriage is hard work. Raising kids is very difficult. And when we ever have difficult times, and I always remember them. I mean, they were together for over 60 years. So we may pat ourselves on the back, Winnie and I, and say, hey, it's been 25 years. But the danger is thinking, okay, we have it made. But no, I mean, 25 years is still small compared to the richness you can have in the relationship. So even in 25 years, because of them, they show us almost the fullest potential you can have in sharing your life with someone. And I haven't done the statistical research, but the number of people that have been married for 65 something years, I think is very rare. Probably like winning the lottery. So I consider our family blessed to have someone in our family that was together for well over 65 years. I can't imagine that ever happening because we no longer get married at 15 now, and but that shows us that it's ideal, and that's been a good example for us here to that we can always improve and get better. And then something else, of course, I've learned from her is you can always soar to the stars even if you never step on a plane. I used to think, wow, she's not having the fullest life because she's not on a plane, she's not doing all this. But then I realized I was the one that was not being richly living my life because I haven't really fully grounded myself into all the possibilities of being human in the way we're designed to. And so I learned from her that even if you're grounded in the same place, that when life is the most meaningful. Yeah, and then you can think about spirituality. You can imagine, going to Disneyland, going to the stars, being with people there. But I've learned to appreciate, especially now with the COVID-19 situation. I've been at home for over 2 months, and so it made me more like her, thinking about her, and she probably would not even know that there was a shutdown because being at home, working in the garden was just natural to her. So I've tried to put that mindset in place, and so one of the ways I've found to honor her and her influence to me is through my own acts of gardening. And now we have a backyard here, and 2 years ago it was just all overgrown because the people that lived before us for 20, 30 years didn't take care of it, and it was very intimidating. But when Delores was nearing the end, I was just thinking of, well, how can I immortalize her, or what is something about her that impacted me? How can I become a better person? And I thought about her gardening, and so I just started little by little. And then maybe in another video, another day, I'll give you a tour of our garden. That's in process. But like this prickly pear back here, you couldn't even see it. When we first moved here, everything was just so overgrown. So I spent maybe a week just cutting and moving away. Didn't even know we had this prickly pear here. And so this gem revealed itself here. And so we have a spotlight. This is over maybe a 12, 13-foot tree that's growing below the deck here. And so I really appreciate that. Then over here, we had an apple tree that was completely hidden by other trees growing around it. So I cleared all that off, and now you can see the apple tree. I'll see if I can rotate it. And then right there, that tree that's there, that's the apple tree. Right there. Last year we harvested the apple too late, but even there we probably got like 50, 60 apples there. So I'm pretty excited about learning how to live off the land in our backyard, and that comes from Delores. And then for about 8 or 9 months, I cleared out and found out that there was a raised, elevated bed. And so I put some soil there and planted some herbs, and I don't know anything about herbs and or plants. And if you were to ask me to plant arugula, I'd say, what's arugula? Because to me, arugula sounds like an island in the Bahamas. So I just went to Home Depot and bought one of every kind of herb, planted it to see what would grow. And then over 8 or 9 months, it was just amazing that I found I eventually learned how to take care of, and I started to learn about all the herbs, and I learned the value of life by gardening, because I have to go there every single day, first thing in the morning, to check, water, pour weeds, and you really have to pay attention to the details. But then day by day, all the plants start becoming, you become known to them, you become connected. And then I start seeing that ecosystem that I'm sure Delores knows all too well. So I planted papayas on one side, and the power just shot up 8 or 9 or 10 feet, and they soak all the water. So it's planted by the water where the water hose is. It often leaks and drains in there, so that's perfect for the papayas. But then the papayas provide shade in the summer to the earth. And then I plant the herbs that need more water, like cilantro, near the papayas. And at the end, I put the drought tolerant herbs, including thyme. So at the end, in the sunny area, I planted herb that's called rosemary. And I found out rosemary is perfect because it attracts bees, and then it repels other animals that might eat it. Then the bees are starting to come, and then there's worms in the soil, and there's butterflies. So I'm starting to see all the beautiful ecosystem that's in the backyard of my own house. So to me, doing the garden was a way to embody the spirit of Delores. And so gives me great pleasure to announce that on this Mother's Day, I would like to formally dedicate the garden in our yard to the memory of Delores Taylor. In the garden, I have ordered a memorial stone that I will place in the garden. And this is what looks like. And has a tree here. So to me, it symbolizes the tree of life. What you see at the very beginning of the Bible, you also see at the end of the Bible. Reminds me of how gardening is probably the most central concept in the entire Bible of who God is, and it also describes the central livelihood of the Lord. Something that she enjoyed during her vocation is the tree here, and into her memorial garden. So I placed there in the back of the garden. So every day when I work on the garden, I see the stone, and it reminds me of her, and that my daily act of cultivating the garden, taking care of it, and then also embodying those qualities of care, cultivation, protection in my human relationships with Wendy, with the kids, with everyone. When I do all of that, I hope that I'm able to embody, at least in part, of the spirit of the Lord. So that's who she was. The way she was devoted to the garden, to her family. That legacy will always endure as long as we aspire to do likewise and take time to remember her in this way. So I hope that it will be meaningful. If you know her, that this might help you think about memories about her, but at least this was sharing how she has impacted my life and the lessons I have learned from her, and I hope that's helpful to you. And I would, of course, be very glad to hear from you on what you remember about her, what you miss the most about her, and in what ways has she affected your life. And I hope we all can do that over the next few months, the next year. And even though we can't be together at COVID, I would welcome you sharing in any way you want to. Maybe posting a video on YouTube. We could have a Zoom session or Google Meet and maybe talk about that, because I think the more we do this, the more we can keep her alive. Because the alternate is tragic if we don't be intentional about memorializing her, remembering her. then the danger is she becomes forgotten. And I know we don't want that to happen. And at least for me, she never will be forgotten for me. Okay, because she has changed my life permanently. And all I can hope is to do the best I can to aspire to the quality that she has embodied so well in um, her life. You know, and I just want to thank her for being who she was in her life, and she is so devoted to everyone, especially to her husband. And I would not doubt it for a second if she refuses to go to the next phase of the afterlife and wait till we're there with her. You know, I can imagine her saying before into the next life, saying, I'm not going there without my gene. I'm not going there without my family. But why would she? You know, and so that's the kind of person she is. So if when I thought to move to the next phase of life, if she was there waiting for me, I know everything's gonna be okay. Why? Because we are all truly together and with God in a fuller way. And as you learn from Delores' life, that's what's important in life. So may we all, from this day forward, take the time, moment by moment, especially during these times of staying at home, to enjoy being together, take care of one another, and maybe learn some ways we can be grounded into the area around where we live, like Delores was. And when we do so, we become more like her. We can become more like God as well. And life will be all the worth living, and even more so when we all meet together in the next life.